Hey y'all, this video is going to be the answers to the questions that I had asked y'all to give me in an earlier video. So I got some good questions, and so here goes. The first question is from Jesus Saves, and she wants to know, where am I from and what camera do I use to film videos? I was born in O'Galley, Florida, or Melbourne, Florida, and lived in O'Galley, Florida till I was 6, and at 6 we moved to North Carolina, and I was raised in Valdez, and when I got married, well, I'll explain in another question more about that, but anyway, for about the past 18 years, I've lived in Newton, North Carolina, which is near Hickory or Charlotte. And so that's where I'm at. And what camera do I use to film videos? I use my iPhone 5. I have another camera I bought a good while back that another YouTuber uses, and I like the way it looks, but I'm not real technical and I've not figured out how to use it, but if I ever do, I'll probably go to that. But the iPhone 5 for me works fine. Okay, the next question is from Lainey Bugaroo, and she says, tell us about your dog. Well, we have two dogs, Lily, the Chihuahua, and Jax. When we got Jax, we were told he was a lab, but the vet said he's a lab border collie mix, but the older and bigger he gets, he really just looks like lab. So it doesn't really matter to us because, you know, we're not going to breed him. We just want him for love and to be our pet, so it doesn't matter. But Lily was born with only her two back legs. She doesn't have front legs. I've shown her before in videos, and I'm sure she'll be in more, but she's a very quiet, loving dog. She just loves to sit on your lap and be petted, and she gravitates more toward me than anybody, and then my husband second. And she lets you know somebody is at the door. She'll bark and growl and stuff. But anyway, she's the sweetest dog I've ever had, and I just love her, and she's about 2 years old. And Jax is about, oh goodness, I'm terrible with ages. I want to say 5 months, maybe not quite that much. And we started him out as an indoor dog, but he refused to be potty trained, and so we have a fenced in backyard, and we have an igloo dog house, and we have a deck on the back he can go under if he wants, and he is completely content out there playing. And if you remember the haul where we bought the pig for him, the Oinks, he loves that, and I hear him outside playing with that all the time. And anyway, that's our two dogs. And okay, number 3 is from Fat Steve, and he would like to know favorite holiday memories. And my dad died when I was pretty young, so most of my memories are just with my mom. But one thing I remember is where my father worked. They always had a Christmas a Christmas thing for family members of employees, and you'd go to this theater type thing. And if you're not from the South, you probably won't know Fred Kirby, but he is the singing cowboy, and he had a show years ago where he would introduce the Little Rascal movies and sing songs, and he pulled my pigtails one time, and that was a big thing because I have never forgotten it. And so going to that Christmas party, I also remember my mom cooking. My mom always cooked delicious meals, but you know, Christmas is very special meals. And Christmas morning, you know, the anticipation of Christmas is so great. And so on Christmas Eve, we would have a little party, and my mom would make punch and cookies and, you know, just potato chips and a few little snacks. And we would sit around and have that and play Christmas music and just enjoy being with each other. And then we'd go to bed and we'd lay there real quiet and see if we could hear Santa Claus come. And every year, either my sister or I would take first watch, and we would blow it because we would go to sleep before Santa Claus came. But he always managed to make it, and so that was that. For Halloween, we would always carry, they didn't have the plastic bags like they have now at the grocery store. It was all paper, so we'd take a paper bag and dress up and go house to house. And there was only a few places my mom would drive because it would be neighborhoods and, you know, plenty of candy in those neighborhoods. But my mom would let us out and then follow us along in the car as we walked from house to house, and make sure she's very protective. And you know, she would just follow us. And one year, I guess I was too young to be embarrassed at the time, but my sister had chicken pox or something, but she was not able to trick or treat. So my mom gave me 2 bags and told me to tell everybody that her sister was sick and could I get candy for her too. So I did it, and some of those people might have thought I was faking it. I don't know, but anyway, I got her candy, and I'm glad I did. And so those are a few of my memories. The next question is from Betsy Wetsy. What was my childhood like? And like I said, my dad died when I was real young. Like, I knew this at one time, but we all know I forget. I was about 10 or 11, somewhere in there, and my parents were very strict. We weren't allowed to join Girl Scouts. We couldn't cross the street by ourselves. We just stayed at home usually, and my dad had big gardens that, well, my sister worked in them more than I did because I was allergic to grass. So, you know, I would just play and laugh at her because she had to work. My dad had a plow hooked to a horse, so, you know, we would help him with the plowing and picking vegetables. Growing up, we had hogs that my dad would shoot, and men would come over, his friends, and they would tie a rope around the hog's neck and throw it over a tree limb, connect it to the truck, and pull the hog up, and then back it back down into a big barrel, 50-gallon barrel of water that they had boiling. And that would take the skin off, and they would make sausage, liver mush, you know, dress the meat how all it needed to be done. We had chickens, cats, dogs. I'm trying to think. We always had horses, and I always rode bareback on the horses. And there's nothing really that stands out that interesting or whatever. We didn't go on vacations except once every so often. We go to Cherokee and just go up and down the street where they have the shops and all, and that was always fun. And there would be an Indian standing there, and you'd get your picture made with him. So that's all I really remember. My mom, after my dad died, my mom worked for rich people in Valdez, doctors, lawyers, things like that, cleaning their house. And they were all very good to her and to us. And so, anyway, and who taught me to cook? I'm sorry. Okay, sorry about that. My mom passed away about 16 years ago, and sometimes I get a little emotional because I was very much a mama's girl. But anyway, Betsy, Wetsy, and Judy also asked me who taught me to cook, and that was my mom. And I just started watching her, and she'd tell me little things about this and that she would cook, and so that's who taught me. Next question is from B. Moniski. I just really hacked that name. I'm so sorry. But do I live in the country? I do live in the country. I live in a little community development that's older, and a lot of older people live here, and it's a very good place to live. Good, honest people live here that help you if you need it. And the lady that lives I live in a circle drive or cul-de-sac, and the lady that lives right next to me, my daughter feels like she's her grandma, and the lady thinks she's her grandma, and I think it's precious, and they are very close. And anyway, it's a great place to live, and I do live in the country. And do I have any animals outside? And the only animals I have are outside is the one dog. I had animals growing up, like I had said, horses and chickens and pigs and dogs and cats, and I'm sure there's other things I can't think of offhand, but now we don't. I really don't think I would have time, because I take care of my husband. He has mental and physical problems, and my daughter, and I stay pretty busy, and I wouldn't do animal justice right now. Okay, Lucinda Monger, if I messed that up, I'm sorry. How many brothers and sisters do I have? I have a sister named Mary. She lives in Idaho, and she's 59, and as y'all know, I went to visit her recently, and we hadn't seen each other since my mom passed away about 16 years ago. Then I have a brother, Jimmy, and he's 67, and he lives in the next town over, and he has 5 children, all really good children. So, my next question is, do I have any tattoos? And yes, I do. I have 2 tattoos. They're both right above my left ankle. How old was I when I got them? The first one I was in my mid-30s, and the second one I was in my early 40s. And the first one was a cross with a purple robe like you see at Easter. I had that, and the second one is an ivy anklet right below it. And do I regret getting the tattoos? I don't regret getting the tattoos, but what I do regret is that I didn't get somebody better to do them, especially the cross, because he made it too small, and sometimes you don't know what you're looking at. And I've talked about getting it reworked or something else, and if that happens, it does, and if not, that's okay. The anklet was done by, at the time, one of the best in this area, and he didn't do too good, but he was getting older and stuff. But I try not to have too many regrets, and I don't think that's, a biggie, So anyway, that's that. I have two. And the next question is from Susan Sunshine. Where did I grow up? And like I said, I was born in Melbourne, Florida, and I was raised in Eau Gallie, Florida till I was 6. Then we moved to Valdez, North Carolina. That's where both my parents were from. My dad worked for the Cape in Florida, and I think I've said before, he helped build the first launch pad for the first space shuttle. And anyway, we moved back here when I was 6, and I lived here until the early 90s, and maybe about 95. And I decided I wanted to move to Idaho with my sister, so me and my family moved to Idaho, and we didn't stay too long. It was really a culture shock, weather shock, and I missed my mom terribly bad. And so we didn't stay too long when we moved back to Valdez, and that is the only state that I've ever lived in besides Florida and North Carolina. And Idaho's a beautiful place. We lived in Coeur d'Alene, which is a resort town. They have Lake Coeur d'Alene, and it's beautiful. And if you ever want to go on vacation out that way, that would be a beautiful place to go. But I just didn't make it. The next question is from Sheila Urban. Is your 4-year-old a picky eater? And she definitely is. If I give her something she's not familiar with, I just pretty much insist that I have with all my kids, you take one bite of what I fixed, and if you don't like it, then you don't have to eat it, but you have to give it a chance. So she'll stick her tongue to something that I want her to taste, and she'll either say it's yucky, or she'll go, oh, that's good, and she'll eat it. But she does not like salt, which is great. She doesn't like butter, which is great. And she eats pretty much plain things, and but she is very picky, so I guess that might be something that's common. Cindy H. What was the special dish I would make my kids when they were growing up? Randy and I, Randy is my second husband, and we've been married 28 years, and before I met him, I started making this special dish for just me and my girls. My first husband and I split when my oldest, Autumn, was a little over 2, and Holly was just a baby. So I raised them about 6 years by myself before I met my husband. But anyway, I have to go all the way around the bush to tell you. I would make steak, which would be a very cheap cut, mashed potatoes and peas, and that was our special dish, and they still remember today about eating that, and so they love that. And was there a main dish that was for special occasions? And of course, Thanksgiving was turkey, and Christmas was ham. And they really loved it when I made spaghetti or lasagna, and the lasagna would be something I'd make for a special occasion. So otherwise, not really. There was nothing that I didn't make on a pretty regular basis. The next question is from Sagebrush. How did me and Randy meet? Well, I enjoy telling this story. I had a friend. Her name was Amy. And we had been friends for, pretty good while. Best friends. And so we went over to her uncle's house to visit her uncle. And while we were there, Randy came in. And I thought, oh my goodness, he is gorgeous. And he had salt and pepper hair, which was mostly pepper. He had this really great voice that just would make your toes tingle, and just handsome as could be. And so we talked a little bit and everything, and so then we left, and a day or two later I called to my friend's uncle's to see if she was there, and he said, no, she's not here, but Randy's here. Do you remember him? And there was no way I could forget him. And I said, yes, I did remember him. And he said, well, he would like to talk to you. And I said, okay. So he got on the phone and we talked probably a couple hours, and he asked me out. And at the time I weighed a lot, and I was not used to guys asking me out, but he did. And later on I asked him, I said, you could have this is years and years later, I said, you could have had dated anybody, here's my timer, anybody that you wanted to. Why did you choose to go out with me? And when I come back, I'll tell you what he said. So, my husband said that he asked me to go out with him because he knew that I was a good girl with good values and stuff like that, and that's what he was wanting. And his friends would kind of poke fun at him for dating a big girl, but he said he didn't care what they had to say, and I'm glad he didn't care. But that's how we met. We dated for, on our second date, which was the night after our first date, he asked me to marry him, and 3 months later we got married. And I had not really been interested in remarrying until not long before I met Randy, and I started praying to God to find me somebody that I was ready to start a relationship, but I didn't know that it was going to move that fast, but it did, and there are no regrets. We've been together, how long have you been together? 28 years, and our anniversary is July 22nd, 1988. How many children? Altogether we have 4. Autumn is 36, and she has 4 children. Holly is 34, and she has 2 children. Caleb is 26, and he has 2 children. And then we have Kaylin, who's 4. What are some of my favorite things to do? Excuse me. I love naps, especially in the middle of the day. I really love a nap. Crafting. I like to do a lot of different crafting. All of it I'm not great at, but I like to do it. Handbags, sewing. Something y'all don't know about me is I collect cashmere. Like at the yard sales or thrift stores, if I see something 100% cashmere and it's a really good price, I buy it. And one day I'll figure out something to make with them. I'm thinking about these really neat gloves that I've seen to use it on part of those. But anyway, collecting cashmere, yard sales, cooking, and I love reality shows. So that's some of my favorite things. Judy said she would like to hear about my weight loss. Okay, I'll make this kind of short because it could get drawn out. I went to have weight reduction surgery, a gastric bypass, and I had a hernia in my stomach that went unattended. And my stomach, well, I've had several surgeries on my stomach, and I have a long scar, like maybe that long, down the front that has been gone into a couple times for different things. And but I had a hernia that went unattended, and my stomach went through the hernia and it went up into my chest. So when the weight reduction doctor got in there to do the gastric bypass, he found that, and I had so much scar tissue from the previous surgeries that he could not get to what he needed to get to because of the scar tissue, and he couldn't move my stomach back where it belonged, and so he just sewed me up, and I came out like I went in. And so after I healed up enough for another surgery, well, he went ahead and referred me to Duke University. That's a teaching hospital here in North Carolina. He referred me to them, and they were going to try to do the gastric bypass. But when I had to heal from the first surgery, and then had consultations and all that, so I went in. They had a plan A and a plan B, and plan A was to cut through all the scar tissue and move my stomach back where it went and do the gastric bypass, which they took 5 hours of trying to get my stomach loose and put it back from the scar tissue, but they couldn't get through that. So they felt like I was getting to the end of time. I could be under anesthesia. So they decided to go with a distal bypass, which they stretch. Sorry for the interruption. Anyway, they stretch something, an intestine or something. I'm not really sure. And it makes your food pass through your system a lot faster, and you don't absorb the fats out of food like you would if that procedure hadn't been done. So they decided that they would just have to leave my stomach in my chest, do the distal bypass because they couldn't do the gastric bypass, and let that be that. So I feel blessed. I feel like that was the proper thing to do. I am pleased with the outcome, and if I actually, I think I would suggest the distal bypass to people instead of the gastric bypass. But anyway, that's how I've lost the weight, and some people feel like that's just the easy way out, but my first doctor said if there are people that just cannot lose weight no matter what they do, that they just cannot lose it, cannot keep it off, and that he felt like I was one of them. He's a very popular, well-known doctor, and Dr. Oz the other day said that gastric bypass is one of the most unused surgeries that there is, that people should take advantage of that more than they do. Anyway, so that's my story about losing the weight. Would I do a tour of my home? I will. We're in the process right now doing a little bit of renovation on the front porch, which I'll show you once it's all done. It's something we wanted to do, but we had to do it sooner than we thought because my husband fell through the railings in the front porch. We were trying to move something, and when he pulled, it gave, and he didn't realize it was going to give like that, and he went flying back and went through the railings on the porch. So we had to go ahead and just get that fixed and do the other few little things we wanted to do at the same time, since we were having to get that done. He's okay now. He was really hurting when it happened. But I will do a video of the inside when the time's right. So, she asked who taught me to cook, and my mom. What age was I cooking? I really wasn't that interested in cooking until my late teens, and so that's when my mom started the most. I mean, I would ask questions before, but that's when I really got interested and started. My first dishes that I made, my mom made this dish. I know you know what Spam is. Well, she would open up a can of Spam and slice it down, not all the way through, but almost all the way through, and then she would glaze it and bake it, and that was so delicious. So that's something I would make. And mashed potatoes, beef stew, biscuits, things like that were my first things that I cooked. And stories about my childhood and growing up. I had to write myself notes because I would forget if I didn't. I played a lot in the woods. If I got the opportunity, even though I was allergic to grass, the woods is a little bit different. So we always had horses and rode those bareback around the house, and all there was saddles, but we chose to ride bareback. My grandma, when we moved back to North Carolina, my grandma lived in a house right up the hill from us, and I would always run up there and visit her. If we were going to make homemade ice cream or cook out or anything like that, I would automatically run up there and invite my grandma. I would help her paint her furniture, which is something we did a lot. She would make biscuits, but my grandma was really cheap, and she would not let them cook long enough, so they were still doughy in the center, but I thought those were the best biscuits ever, and I loved it when she made biscuits. I loved to ride my bicycle. This is when, after my dad passed and my mom got a little less strict about never going anywhere. While she was working during the summer, I would ride my bicycle over to the community center and play tennis. I really enjoyed that so much. And also, when me and my sister were real little, she had us to take swimming lessons every year. And after the first year, we knew how to swim, but the swimming lessons was a way to get to swim every day. And it was cheaper than paying for us to go swim every day, and she could sit there and watch us. So we always remember the swimming lessons. And we would go just on rides around the town and stuff like that, go look at Christmas lights every year. And I don't know, I guess that's the highlights of things I remember. Andy A. Bunn would like to see pictures of me growing up, and because we're doing a lot inside and out, I'm redoing my craft room and moving things and all that. I only have 2 pictures right now. I promise when I get squared away I'll show more, but I'll show these 2. This is an old picture. That's my dad, and he's holding my nephew. That's my mama, and she's holding my niece. And that's me. And I'm holding my niece. So, I think I look like my dad. Some people say I look like my mom. But that's that. And then I've shown this picture before, but I thought I'd show it again. That's my daughter Holly right there. That's my son Caleb. That's my husband Randy, and up there's my daughter Autumn. And that's me with all my makeup on. It's hard to see with all that reflection in there, but that's me. So in that picture I was in my late 20s. In the other picture I was probably 9 or 10. I grew up a big girl. The next question, Linda Gardellini, I hope I said that right. How old was Kaylin when we got her? And Kaylin came home with us from the hospital, so we've had her from birth. And it has all worked out wonderfully. I didn't know how I would be able to raise another child with all the attention you have to put on them, and you know it can be exhausting at times, but she has just been a dream. And so she came home with us at birth, and that worked out best for everybody. Sandy Wolniti, I hope I said that right, would like to know about my faith journey. And I wrote this down so I wouldn't forget. Or not forget, but forget. Anyway, I was raised a Baptist, and I was baptized at 9. I raised my girls in the Baptist church. I met my husband, as I talked about, and he was from the Church of Christ, so that's what we started going to. I was rebaptized in my early 40s because I felt like at 9 maybe I didn't really know what I was doing. So anyway, I was rebaptized. Now we go to a First Christian Church, which is a lot like a Church of Christ, and we love our church. It's very small and intimate, and we love it. Am I a coffee drinker? Yes, I am, and I like my coffee. I like strong coffee, but not where you put like scoop after scoop of coffee in it to make it strong. I like strong coffee where it has sat a long time and got strong, and I like it with flavored creamer in it. And I love sweet tea a whole lot too. And she wanted to know, would I share how I make it? Well, my husband usually makes the coffee, and we just have a 12-cup maker. He fills the water up to the 12 line. He uses 2 scoops that come in your coffee, like in your can. He'll put 2 scoops of coffee in it and run it, and that's what he does. And with the tea, I use the tea maker, which I think makes excellent tea, and I use either 3 family size bags or the what is the gallon size bag, I believe is what it's called. If I don't have the family size, then I'll use the gallon size one of those to the tea pitcher thing, and it makes, I like my tea strong too, so that makes good tea. And usually I don't put Splenda in the whole thing. I just wait until I pour a cup or a glass, and then put some Splenda in it to make it sweet like that. So that's how I do coffee and tea. I'll be back in a minute. I'm sorry this video is turning out so long, but I'm trying to get to each question. Vera Nika asked, what is my favorite TV show? Well, I like two a lot. One is called Counting On, and the other is Born This Way. And I really enjoy those shows. How do I like to spend my free time? I love naps. I love to read nonfiction. I really enjoy books about the Holocaust, and believe it or not, I like to read about true murder. And I like to sew by hand, especially. Sayera 123. Do I take cooking video requests? I do, and I appreciate it when someone asks me to cook something, because it helps me not to have to try to figure out or think so hard. So I do take them, and I appreciate them. Do I have any hobbies? I like to repurpose clothes, crochet, collecting cashmere, flower and vegetable gardening are my favorites. Will I make bread and butter pickles? I will, and I have put it on my list. Thank you for asking. Janet Sides said, where am I from and how many siblings, how many children, how I met my husband, tell us about childhood. And I have answered all those, but thank you for asking. Let It Be said, have I always been a stay-at-home mom and wife? No, I have been for maybe 12 years because I had to, because of my husband's condition. But before that, I worked, and I really enjoy being at home. Twyla's mom asked, what TV shows do I enjoy? And Counting On, Born This Way, 2020, Dateline, Guy's Grocery Games, Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, Chrisley Knows Best, Bold and the Beautiful, Young and the Restless, Judge Mathis, Big Brother, and Survivor. Those are my favorites. Susan J. What age did I start cooking? And that was my late teens. Keeping it real wants to know what I usually do during the day. And I have lots of doctor's appointments for my husband that keeps me going a lot. Otherwise, just normal stuff, gardening, cooking, crafting, cleaning, watching TV, napping, shopping, mowing, reading, just the normal day-to-day stuff. Rosemary Mills asked, how many children do I have? And I have 4. And what sort of hobbies do I enjoy? I already went over that. Marnie, it's not Cosby, but Marnie, a lot of you know who Marnie is. How long has my hair been growing? In about 2 years, and I've cut it a couple times, but you will probably never see me with my hair completely down, because I feel like I look like a witch with it completely down. It's pretty straight, doesn't have a lot of volume, and it just is not flattering. So I always have it pulled back or over or up or down or something, but I don't wear it down anyway. Lily Bug Lane, Lala, wants to know my favorite number, which is 4, because I have 4 children. My favorite letter is Q, because I feel like Q is a very misunderstood letter, so that's my favorite. And my favorite punctuation mark is the exclamation mark, and I use that quite a bit because it gets across if I'm happy or not, or excited or not. Honey Bee, how did I learn all my cooking skills? From my mom, and also a lot of it's self-taught through trial and error. Raising my daughters by myself for 6 years, I had to be very frugal and make money stretch. So one time my sister said I could make 6-course meal out of a box of Hamburger Helper. So, anyway, did I ever work in a restaurant? Yes, I worked as a server at a restaurant, and then the last job that I had was I was a manager for a local family-owned Tex-Mex type of Mexican restaurant, and so that was my restaurant jobs. Also from Marnie, she asked, am I from North Carolina originally? And I was born in Florida. Do I have family in the area? I do. I have my brother and his children and a few other family members. J. Peppy01, how many children and how long married? 4 children, 28 years married. Where am I from? Florida originally, North Carolina now. Serendipity asked me, what do I do in your spare time? And I answered that. Stories about where I live or have lived. In Valdez, which is where I've spent most of my time, it's just a very small Mayberry type town. It was founded by the Waldensians, which are Italian, which I'm a descendant of. I also have Cherokee and German roots. I think I said it's a Waldensian town. They have a festival, which I went to the other week, and they play bocce, and then I lived, like I had told, in Coeur d'Alene, where it's a resort town to have a beautiful lake and lots to do. And I've never lived anywhere, you know, very exciting where there's much to talk about. But Valdez is a beautiful town. My kitchen corner asked, does my husband ever cook for me? And he does make tuna melts and chicken salad, which he makes both of those excellently. And so every now and then he will fix those if he feels good. Nancy Velvet Rose asked, have I always lived where I live? And the answer is no. I've lived here about 18 years or so in this town. And in this house, it's been about 16 years, and I really enjoy the area. What kind of jobs have Randy and I had? Okay, for me, my very first job was I worked in a bowling alley, giving the shoes out, taking the money, resetting the pins, you know, all that kind of thing, and I was 15. I've been a restaurant server, a winder in a cotton mill. That's a very hot, back-breaking job. I worked in a place where they made batteries, and I worked there during the time of Desert Storm. I sewed t-shirts for Hanes. I hated that job. And the restaurant manager, which that was enjoyable. And Randy is a Navy vet. He served 10 years. He is, or was, a furniture inspector for Singer Furniture and Kincaid Furniture. He also was a DJ for a radio station, and that's probably what attracted to me when I told you about his voice. And it was just so dreamy, and it still is, I think. I just love the tone of it now. The Bay Window Lady asked, would I ever give a tour of my home? And I sure will. I just would like for it to look a little better than it looks now, and I'd like to get my kitchen cabinets up and done and all that painted. So, that was my questions. I thank you so much for asking, and I hope you learned something that you felt was interesting. And so I guess that's it. Hope you have a great day. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being a part of my channel. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.